those of you who don't know, I recently lost my dad to cancer, and so understandably the topic of like the life cycle, aging, the process of aging, death, stages of life have been heavily on my mind as I'm taking a long time off from seeing clients to try to wrap my head around this huge life event. Also try to heal myself and my family, as it was a several years long event. As those of you who've lost somebody you love from cancer can probably relate to that. Feeling like, whoo, there's a lot of need to like cocoon and heal and recover from this experience. So I'm in a phase of that right now, and just recently had his service, and I spent a lot of time ahead of the service and in the service and after thinking about this idea of like losing your parent. And one aspect of that is feeling like you've lost a sort of covering, an umbrella over you, if you're lucky, a safety net. And how strange that feels. I didn't expect to lose it at this age. Of course, I know the facts. It can happen at any time, but it just wasn't how I pictured it. So it's giving me a lot of thought about how we start out the infant and we end up, if we're lucky, the aged. And like, what is that whole ride? Like, what is it? And what does it mean when you're next on deck? You know, when your covering is no longer alive? What does that make you? What does that make you if you're a parent of a young child at that time? Like, just, you know, all of that, just contemplation. And one of the thoughts that came to my mind was, you know, the three stages. You're the child, you're the parent, you're the aged. These are archetypes. I don't misunderstand. I understand it's not what happens for everybody, but archetypally. And I thought, well, okay, if I could just summarize for myself what these stages are to wrap my head around where I'm at, where I'm going. And here's what came up for me. I'm curious to just like float it to you and see how it resonates for you or doesn't, what your thoughts are about it. I think if I take one word for each stage of life, the child learns. The parent builds. The aged releases. Each of those words is built on the foundation of the thing that came before. So the child comes onto the scene as a newborn. They learn, they receive. They take it all in, grow big and strong, literally and metaphorically. We're children in this term far beyond the legal age of 18, right? Because we continue to grow outside of our home now. We're growing in our life experiences, whether that's through advancing our schooling or first career choices or travel. Like, we are in a place of reception. We receive. That's what being a child is about. We receive. We take in, we assimilate, we integrate it. The parent now has the child to care for. So the parent now must build. They take all the learning, all the resources, all the education, both formal and informal, and now they must take that and build. The parent invests in structure, by proxy, often status quo, something familiar. They create scaffolding. They are the nation builders. They are the accumulators, right? They build savings. They build investment, they build assets, they build a family, they build a home, they build an industry, they build, right? And then the final stage, we release. You can see how that comes after all the building. Accumulate stuff and money and knowledge and accumulate, and then you reach a point where you are confronted with the absolute impermanence of all of this. Everything you learned and everything you built is dust in the end. You don't take it with you. And all the nice things that people will say about you as a result of whatever you built, you're not going to be there to receive it. It doesn't go with you. We are born naked, we will die naked. When we are born, we alone pass through the veil of existence. When we die, we alone pass through the veil of our existence. Nothing we have accumulated, nothing we have learned, nothing we have built can go with us. And so the aged, it is about release. And that release can look like legacy building, right? So it's still a form of building, but it's a different thing, because instead of being building about me and mine, it's building for thou. It's building for the other. It's building with the concept of I don't get to keep what I build. So what I'm building is to release. And I think this is why when we are around the aged who truly embody this phase, they are so lovely to be around, because the ego begins to disintegrate. The concept of me and mine and I want and greed and all of that, just all of that evaporates in the face of death. It doesn't exist. There's no negotiating with death. You can't spend your way out of it, really. Maybe temporarily, but not truly. It is the great equalizer, right? We will all experience it. And I'm going to tell you, no matter what trappings you want to put on it, there is no glamour or dignity to it in the end. We are born naked and we will die naked. All the things we build become dust, just like everybody who came before us. Even footnotes in history aren't accurate. The people they're talking about would tell the story differently. And we only keep them as footnotes in history in so long as it serves what we want today, and then we change it. Every ancient civilization is proof of that. Every archaeological dig. It all is dust in the end, and therefore the aged who truly embrace that phase are like an elixir, because they are free. If they really lean into the sorrow and the pain and the loss, on the other side of that, they are free. Because all we have is right now, and the only thing that lasts is what we've set in motion. The ripples in the pond. The ripples in the pond don't carry the identity of the one who started them. The ripples in the pond expand out and have impact upon impact, and it moves the lily pad, and it moves the fish, and it moves the blade of grass, and it changes the habitat ever so slightly, and the ripples don't even stay the ripples. The ripples move out into other things. The ripples become the breeze, right? And that's why there's absolutely no ego left, because no one gets credit for starting the ripple. So in the end, the people who truly lean into their mortality understand that the only option is to release. And that the essence of a life well lived is to release something which sets in motion love. At the end of it all, that's all that's left. What did I put in motion that was love? What love did I put in motion? And I say put in motion instead of give, because I'm talking beyond just I love you kind of love. That too. The love we give the people we love is very important. But I'm talking even more esoteric than that. I'm talking about the things we set in motion, which are kindness, generosity, graciousness, compassion, an ethos of plenty, resilience, right? Love by many other names. And if we can lean into the pain of grief, which is so visceral that it hurts physically, and if we can stare into it deeply and not look away, we'll fall into another hole, which is the existential angst attached. There's the pain of the grief of the loss, and then there's the existential angst of the futility of it all. It's all dust in the end. Oh my God, everything I built. Don't look away. Keep leaning. Keep looking. Because on the other side of it, I'm not there yet. I don't claim to be there, but I can see it. I'm not in it, but I see it. And it is the release. beautiful. Learning is beautiful. Those things are for their season and they are beautiful. This is not about being more. This is not climbing a ladder or hierarchy. This is about each phase has its lesson, has its gift, has its burden. And that's what's happening here. Release. That is what death teaches us. One way or another. One way or another. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Those of you who have been touched by death and loss especially, what do you think? Those of you who are contemplating different stages of life, those of you who've experienced some of these different stages of life, love to hear what you think.